Well, I have to run out the door very, very soon. So I'm using this as a forcing function to record a speedy video. Let's see if it'll be speedy. Um, to continue to document this transition between this threshold of moving and shifting careers and shifting location and shifting, this reorientation in my life of what it is I'm meant to do. At this current season of discovery, the thought that I'm curiously exploring in my discussions is whether my place is to be this sort of translator between commercial growth into complexity conscious human systems and systems reform, and to operate as the bridge between the two, because I'm starting to sense there are two different languages and that vocabulary used in two forms, and there's a bit of a mismatch right now. Something that I'm also deeply curious about is if one of my roles and purpose in this work at this season of my life is to help be a bridge for others who might be disillusioned by the corporate world, who might sense that there is something more or something more meaningful that they could be contributing to, but simply haven't been exposed to it. And it would be quite an honor to be able to expand that worldview for others, just as my worldview is expanding at this current moment. There is a framework that is coined the adult development theory, which I believe was potentially founded by Robert Keegan, but I won't hold myself to that. I first heard about it through the work of Jennifer Garvey Berger, who works in complexity conscious human system design, executive leadership space. And she describes something. So in the phases of adult growth, that occur kind of inner maturation, it goes that we kind of move from being the self-sovereign young adulthood probably state where we see only our views and perspectives, and everyone else is a mystery about to us, because we only know what is true to ourselves. Hopefully we graduate from that worldview, very self-centered oriented worldview, into usually joining a society or a group and being engaged in that group where we start to take in those ideas as our own, those philosophies. I certainly felt like I was probably socialized moving through university, of course, moving into London, and the people that I surrounded myself with, into my volunteering with So Far Sounds, into just forming worldviews that were shared with others. And then some people stay there. But the theory goes that some mature onward into this phase called self-authored, which is where essentially we become an author of our own lives. We are thinking about our own ideas into the future, becoming potentially more critical of the way things are, and forming our own unique vision of how, let's say, the future could operate. So we're authoring a new reality, which seems to be, if I had to say what phase am I in, seems to probably be the phase that I'm emerging into, maturing into. And then some stay there. Apparently, the biggest leap in adult development theory is when you graduate into, when you mature into self-transforming, where you're co-constructing with others what it means to operate in ambiguity and uncertainty. And you are in this transforming outwardly. Everyone occupies a space, but boy, is that the space to be in. And something that's been quite alluring to me in this journey is there a conduit to moving through those spaces? Is it that some people just get there and some people don't? Or is there a particular exposure that needs to happen, an expansion of sight and vocabulary that needs to help them to be an invitation for others to kind of move through this and to move through this evolving worldview, and sense of their kind of place. I came through it in such interesting ways. I think poetry was a huge unlock for me. It's hard to pinpoint what brought me into this stage of where I am right now, but it's not been one moment. It's been kind of building blocks from working on essentially education reform against the future of work during my time at LinkedIn, working with these like old school systems, universities, higher education that hadn't changed since their impetus, and served what means in the future, what relevance. Like, that was a very fascinating space to occupy and hold those conversations and study and learn about the system that I had never really interrogated before, into starting to work within a system where I just had kind of a front row seat to what, and it wasn't just this company, but how systems truly are dysfunctional in our capitalist commercial worlds, and the impact of that. For me, it was well and truly burnout. Of course, there was a line. There were moments that my values didn't feel in total alignment, that were, catalysts for me taking a next step. But boy, was I burnt out. I wonder if I wasn't so burnt out, would it have been so dramatic for me, in my experience through it? It was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, I've never been so unwell in that. I kind of wonder. I was like, high expectations for myself, like responsible for a lot of people that I felt like I was letting down, like just a constant pressure. And that allowed me to move away from that space, but it was in combination with my certain enlightenment. Was when I was in the fjords of Norway at a retreat, starting to reconnect with nature and reconnect with myself, about 6 months prior to leaving the corporate space. And poetry, poetry is a huge reflection back into the life that I was living. There was a poem called Ambition by David Whyte that broke me, that made me question, what is it all for? And so, stepping quite literally into the mountains and staying here has provided such a grounded, awakening, a perspective shift in my life, that it's like anything that pulls me away from this space, I'm like, reject, eject, like, no. I have to be in this place of expansion, in this space of where we're operating, like what's at stake, which is like our planet and our communities, and being able to thoughtfully engage with some of this stuff. So it's a fascinating moment. It's at the moment I'm having a lot of conversations with individuals who, are true futurists and human-centered thought leaders, who are gifting me their time. I have to remember how generous people are being talking to me at a moment where I am still forming meaning and learning a new language and practicing. And I am coming across so imperfect. Sometimes I'll look at my jumbled communication and I'll be like, do I even speak English? Is this what it means to like literally be learning a new definition of language? But what I don't want to lose sight of is learning that language and being unable to translate it to those that are just walking into it for the first time. So I'm currently talking to a few different consultancies that work in complex organizations, to fundamentally shift how our organizations operate, how we all find fulfillment in our work, how we all operate in our world of work. Because the biggest idea of spinning around is that the structures that probably never served us, let's be real, if it was like these prejudiced structures of exclusion, probably never served the world, but they did to the point that it got us to like today. But if we think that the scaffolding of an organization is going to be what we're building into in the future, we are far mistaken. If we think about our org charts, if we think about our job descriptions, our responsibilities, how we think about our key results and our annual planning. It's like all that's out the window because we are moving at a clip right now. And that agility, that adaptability, that resilience, that collaboration, that agency and autonomy afforded to people close to the work is like the only thing that matters. But fundamentally, our organizations aren't structured to support that well. So it's just an interesting space to be circling around and one of inquiry. Do I think that that's my higher purpose in this life? No. Am I curious about investing my energy there so that I might support others' development into this world of work and into their own adult development so that we might have talent working on society's biggest challenges and reform? Yes. It's a long game, I think, for me, and I'm trying to find my way in. But that's the place I'm currently exploring. It's fucking mind-blowing, and I gotta run.